I do want to change gear a little bit because I saw you posted something as well about a single disgruntled user. That because you guys were so young, really had, it seemed like, really had an impact on, your business and what you could do and etc. And it actually made me think, because this is not the reason I picked up on it, is because this is not the first time that I see it. And I'm older than you, obviously. So I
Just a little
remember,
bit, just a little bit.
just a little bit. I remember the years back in the days, companies could treat users however they wanted, almost, because the road for a user to share a bad experience with the world was very long, and that meant that even if you as a company just ridicule your users, almost, you could get away with it for years and years. Then along came social media. Every single person now have a broad audience potentially. So if you hit a nerve, I remember I read a book with a guy who bought a computer from Dell, and they just treated him horribly, right? And then he wrote a blog post that was called "Why Dell Sucks," and it got so popular and so read that at a point in time, if you went in to Google and you said Dell, enter, the first organic post was "Why Dell Sucks." And I was like, oh, now you don't get to that level unless Dell has done that to a lot of people that engaged with his blog post, right? So let's be fair. But actually, Dell reached out to him and they were like, we really want to make this right. But here's the backside of that coin, right? The backside of that coin is that you can have disgruntled people that is mad at you as a company, not because you did something wrong, but just because there could be a mismatch with the product, or it could be wrong expectation setting, or it could also be a little percentage of users is just angry people that just don't like the world. I'm sorry, but I've seen that sometimes, where you have somebody where you're like, okay, you're acting crazy. But these crazy people, they now have a lot of ways they can really hit at a company, right?
Yeah.
So share what happened with you guys, and then I would like to get your opinion on, are we at the right place? Is the balance right between users being able to share their experience and, calling out bad companies, and the opposite way around, seen from your perspective?
Yeah. So what happened? So basically, we had.
From your perspective, right? I can only share your perspective, but we don't have the user on. So from your perspective, what happened?
Yeah. So what happened? So kind of just recap a little bit. So when we had we never had Google reviews before, and then the first one came along, and there's this guy Kevin Malone, which is an alias, by the way, of very popular character in The Office. I think that's an important component, which I'll kind of mention later. But yeah, this guy, he put a 1-star review and saying that the product sucks, quality of the summary was crappy, and I don't want to use it, basically. So that's what happened, and and I chose to basically call him out on LinkedIn, basically, more like a joke, that, hey, can you take this down, because it will be very problematic for me. Kind of like that. But honestly, it was really a joke. I don't even consider kind of Google reviews as one of important kind of review channel for us. That's why I was so lenient with that. So in my spare time, I was doing that. But okay, so that's what happened. And then he edited the review and say I was threatening him to remove the review, even though in that response video I was like, hey, can you please, otherwise the board of directors will have my head, but I am the chairman of the board. So again, it was all a bit of a joke. And then he said that, and then I pathetically asked for my followers to write good reviews instead, and that's why all these good reviews is coming to Google reviews. So don't listen to those. Which, by the way, all of those reviews are real people, whereas Kevin Malone is hiding under an alias, right? So
how did it have an impact on you guys having that in there, other than the noise, of course?
Having the which one?
Yeah, so him doing that, have you heard from other users? Has it impacted you? Do you have anything where you can see, you know, this has had a impact on the business?
Yeah. So I kind of want to break this, like I want to get into analysis mode and kind of break this down into like 4 or 5 different dimensions. I think the first one is like personally, I have nothing against him, right? I think people are entitled to having negative reviews, like negative feedback. That's completely fine. It's just that that one was definitely on the side of like hate, because it wasn't a productive feedback. And if he was actually wanting to use the tool and kind of, you know, get better or kind of help us get better, he would have messaged me something constructive.
Yeah,
or he would have left a constructive, constructive criticism. Sure, I can take the 1 star, but so that one was not any of that at all. So I can tell that, like, Kevin, he doesn't understand what it's like to have a startup, to have something that's like really high stake.
Oh, no.
You kind of do something like that.
But he's not Kevin, right?
So
it's somebody else.
Yeah. So
okay,
that's kind of, so personally it's fine. Kind of took it as we kind of wanted to spin it as a joke. So at the very least, we have something fun that comes out of it. And then the second part is the product side. Yeah, like the product isn't perfect, but it works majority of the time. So the time that it doesn't work is when there is some mismatch in the user setting. And that's usually when, you know, people reach out to us so that we can kind of understand what is the problem, because then we would be very quickly able to fix it. For example, if it's like the language part, so what happens is if you put, for example, English US or English GB, like the UK version, like it produces different quality of transcript. So you need to be really correct there. So there are various reasons why summary might not like be good. But once we kind of
but I also think
it's good.
You know, sometimes it's just not the right match and the expectations is wrong, right? And I agree that, of course, if you have a bad experience with the product, you should be able to just put it out there. But it seemed to me, it just seems outsized, right? And the question for me is more like, when you have somebody where it is outsized, where it's like, okay, there's a mismatch, you are allowed to just, you know, say, hey, I don't like this product and I think it's shitty. But when it comes to the threatening and changing and telling everyone else this is just friends, it seems like there's more to it. And my question is more like, do you know, for you guys, did it have an impact? You know, is that anything you've been able to measure anywhere, or has it just drowned out because then everyone else is really happy about the product?
Yeah, so there was, I think there's one more additional 1 star that came to Google review after that. And that was the one where they were saying that the product is all right, but the way that we handled feedback was unprofessional. So, and that review did get some traction. So it did get like, I think 10, 11 likes. And so that one I will take, that sure. Like it did seem then that the way that we were handling, it seems like, you know, we were just making TikTok videos and not really taking in the feedback. So so I was taking that in. So that's why we were thinking about, well, we basically kind of stopped the little kind of show in a way that, you know, I really kind of wanted it to go further because I saw it as a growth opportunity. Because nowadays the way that brands are handling this type of nasty feedback is, you know, evolving it into some sort of beef or roast. You know, like this is quite a popular kind of form of media. For example, especially on TikTok, where people are stitching each other's TikTok, you know, and then kind of building replies on top of that.
Interesting.
And that does get a lot of traction. And so I was looking at it as a growth opportunity. That hey, if we're building a story, right?
Hopefully not to the point where you wanna get bad experiences to
Yeah,
create the roasting video.
No. Like it needs to, of course, be justified, right? That
Yeah, of
he
course.
was coming from a place of unreasonable, and we were
Yes.
coming from a place of reasonable. And I
Yeah.
do still think, and I
And
believe.
that's why you saw there was an opportunity there. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So then it's like we're building a story arc. So then it's kind of nice that there's like one side, the other. Sure, there can be people hating us, and there can be people backing us, and there were really people backing us. The people that actually use us and really love us. So two sides, and yeah,
Yeah.
build story, growth
It's a
opportunity.
classic PR opportunity, right?
Yeah, right. And it was organic.
You
Like
divide people into haters and lovers, and then you let them fight it out, and that creates all of the attention.
yeah, and like there were people even asking me like, hey, did you make this stunt? It's brilliant. And it was organic. So that was such a opportunity that I wanted to drive it further. But here's the next part. It's the branding, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't want to be known or kind of viewed
Have that as a brand.
as guys who are just messing around, because that was the
No.
that was the perception when people were saying like, when that one review was saying that I was unprofessional, and people were agreeing to that. So then there started to be this kind of we started weighing pros and cons a little bit. And okay, is it worth kind of pursuing growth at this potential stake that the brand might be viewed a bit too much on the side of immaturity? So ultimately, as a company, we decided to not follow that. Even though I still kind of on my end, I kind of wanted to see it play out. I kind of want to see.
I think that's the right decision. I have to be honest, because I mean, if you look at who is your potential customers, right? That's business to business people. You're probably gonna want to talk to a lot of senior people about how to increase productivity across their large corporations. And my experience, at least, is that you just want to be on the serious side of things if you start talking to these companies, right?
Yeah, but here's the other thing, right? So I don't think brand is that static in a way that, okay, if we are associated with something that's slightly bad or controversial, it will stay with us. Especially that we're a startup, we're so young, and the brand essentially is basically me and my CEO Encore. Like what WudPecker is us. And I look at it more, instead of from a snapshot, it's more of a continuum. It's more of an arc. And WudPecker is young, so are we, but that means that there's room for improvement. So we could also be looking at the like storytelling arc, a very archetypal type, which is this young, let's say young teenager who is mature at times, but then overly silly and a bit cringy at other times. And then that teenager grows up to be more mature, sophisticated, and professional. And that can be done over the span of year and a half easily. So it was really kind of, and that's like a little bit of a risky take that I wanted to try. And WudPecker is about taking risk. But I think the reason why we didn't go through with it is because the traction wasn't really worth it yet. Like if it was blown out into hundreds or thousands of people who are caring and who are viewing it, then we might pursue it further. So this was this case where the upside was a bit uncertain, where the risk whereas the risk was quite high. So I think that was
Yeah.
kind of where we ended it. And I think, so that was kind of like the rationale.
I like that. I agree with it. I think when you look at a brand as a continuum and not necessarily as a static thing, I agree. I think people underestimate what you can and cannot get away with as long as you do it. I would say it with high integrity. You know, you can be a little bit out there, try some things if you're really willing to then also say, hey, you know, we tried something, we failed, we're sorry, we're moving on, and actually doing that in a proper way.